Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Risk Radar. I'm Chris Glandon, and I'm with BarCode Security. This is a live webcast that focuses on cyber risks that should be on every SMB's radar. If you're not familiar yet with BarCode Security, so we're a full service cybersecurity firm who specializes in providing advisory services to small to medium sized enterprises. So please check us out, barcodesecurity.com, and let's connect to see how we can help your organization. And so, with that, today's topic of discussion is cybersecurity awareness within SMBs. And I'd like to introduce my guest today, Matt Dotz. Matt, how's it going?
Hey, good, good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Matt is currently an information security awareness officer, facilitating security awareness and training programs. He has 24 years experience in law enforcement investigating cyber and financial crimes, including time on the FBI Cybercrime Task Force. Matt holds certifications as a Certified Financial Crime Investigator and GIAC Certified Incident Handler. He teaches criminal justice courses on cyber financial crimes, internet security, and the criminal use of technology. So again, Matt, thanks for taking the time out and joining us today. Yeah, let's get into it. Um, so SMBs often are under the assumption that they're not targets, and we talk about this a lot. But as we both know, attackers are increasingly viewing them as sort of soft targets, right? Really underscoring the need for improved awareness around modern security risks. So, in your perspective, what are some of the biggest threats currently facing SMBs that a cybersecurity awareness program should be locked in on, or really focused in on addressing?
Yeah, that's a great question. These small businesses, and particularly that we deal with in the financial industry that we service, they are have that belief that, well, we're not a target, and they don't understand that the bad guys want to target them because they don't have any security program and they don't have anybody to help them, and they don't have the budget to do it. And a lot of these attacks come through as social engineering attacks, particularly email phishing and business email compromise. Probably the most frequent that we deal with our customers is business email compromise attacks, where validated email accounts get taken over and then used to launch attacks on other businesses. So uh, I email you, and you trust my email, right? It's validated. You know that Matt Dots is who I am, and the email is good. Well, my email becomes compromised. The bad guys are now using my email to launch attacks. So you get an email from me and you think, oh, yeah, it's Matt. He sent me an attachment. We're doing some type of business or something. And now you're compromised, right? This thing, we kind of call it island hopping, where they use one account to take over another account to take over another account, and that's kind of what they do. And ultimately it ends in some type of financial transfer. And these business email compromise attacks, these small businesses just aren't set up for it, or to even to recognize that this is going on. And then obviously ransomware. We have so many small businesses that are hit by ransomware. It's funny, when I was in law enforcement, law enforcement has this thing like, oh yeah, we know all these ransomware attacks, and it's like, you're not even getting half of them, because these small businesses don't report, even medium businesses. And now there's even a trend in enterprise, like, we're not involving the police, right? Don't report this to law enforcement unless we have to by regulation, or if we're going to be audited, like, let's not get law enforcement involved, or whatever. So um, we see so many of our small businesses, and of course they report it to the bank,
Mhm.
because they want to protect their finances, or reach out for some type of assistance on that. So many small businesses getting hit by that right now. So
Yeah,
that's where, if you're looking for training for these small businesses, that's where you have to focus.
yeah, and I don't think small businesses are hard to find either, right? I mean, it's pretty easy for an attacker to find out, especially in a small business, who is running what, who to contact, and sort of how to prescriptively, craft these emails specific, especially for a BC type of attack.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
So making cybersecurity education accessible is um, really needed for staff on all levels, but they often lack the resources for elaborate learning portals or Hollywood production value type of tooling. So, what are some creative yet cost-effective ways that you'd recommend for delivering engaging yet educational content to employees that may not have much cybersecurity knowledge?
Yeah, so there's if you remember back, and I'll date myself here, like the mid '90s, early 2000s, maybe there was a commercial like, "How do you talk to your kids about drug use?"
Hmm.
Just talk to your kids about drug use, right? Like, just have start that conversation. It's hard sometimes, it's awkward, but just start the conversation. However, you need to start the conversation. And that's the same way with cybersecurity and awareness, right? It takes somebody in leadership, a manager, the business owner, whoever it may be, to just have that initiative. Just start talking about it. Um, you know, lunch and learn, pizza parties are awesome for, like low cost, right?
Yeah.
Bring everybody in, throw on, there's all kinds of information on YouTube or LinkedIn Learning, whatever it may be. Get some pizza, sit everybody down. We're going to watch this video on password hygiene or about email phishing, and we're going to eat pizza. That's
Yeah.
it doesn't take a lot. Bringing in a consultant and having them do a 1 hour lesson with your staff on email phishing and email security. I do a class for our customers called social engineering through messaging, where the best way to get people to understand phishing and to recognize phishing uh, in social engineering is for them to see it. So I have
Mm.
dozens of examples of phishing emails and smishing and all these QR code, whatever you want to call it, crishing, whatever they're calling it now, quishing, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? I have all these examples, and I just show them, and we sit down and we look at it and we examine it. So to have someone come in and do that, very, very effective, and not a lot of money compared to what you pay for some type of contract with a long-term vendor. So that's a great way to do it. Just
Yeah.
start, just start.
And I think it resonates with the users or the employees as well because they tend to see this now outside of the organization. I can't tell you how many times I'll get a smishing attack on my phone, and I think that they're more aware of that now. But they also, from the enterprise perspective, get to see exactly what that could look like, and then also, what are the repercussions as well.
Yeah, that's I see. So or our employees, I get that all the time. Like someone will be like, "Hey, Matt, can I show you this message that I got on my phone?" Like, look at, and they want to
Right.
show me. Like they're excited to show. Like, "Hey, listen to this email I got," or "I got this pop up." Once they learn about it and they recognize it, like they're excited. Like it's nobody wants to be a bad employee. Like nobody wants to be the guy that fell for the scam. Like they want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
know. They you just have to start. You just have to get them the information.
yeah, and then hopefully it becomes habit, right?
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
Um, so regardless of the size of your organization, I mean, cost savings and resourcefulness are extremely important. I think we can all agree on that. But it's also important to build that security mindset within the workforce. So, how can we instill a strong and lasting security culture on a budget? And what suggestions do you have for getting employees to care more about cyber risk?
Yeah, that's a concept that transcends budget, right?
Hmm.
Fortune 50 companies with unlimited budgets have the exact same problem of getting employees invested in this as the small business that has no cybersecurity budget. Um, Getting your employees to understand the dangers, to comprehend, and to formulate the plan in their head that, like, hey, I'm going to take this serious, and I'm going to be part of the solution, and we're going to fix this.
Hmm.
And it really comes from top down. You have to have management, you have to have executives, you have to have the business owner, you have to have whoever it may be in the C-suite buy in and say, not only are we going to do this, it's going to be everybody, and we're going to lead by example, and we are going to solve this problem within our organization. if you don't have that, you know, you can't expect the mailroom to get on board if the C-suite is not following the rules either, or doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So to get that buy-in, and to create that culture, it's really top down.
Yeah, I
Is the biggest thing.
completely agree. And you don't know possibly where you have employees coming from other positions or other roles as well, what their knowledge level is. I mean, they could be, you know, you know, be very more cognizant of security, or they may not be. So I think as folks come in, having something when you're onboarding or when you're hiring, maybe during that hiring process, start there as well from day one.
Yeah, and it has to be. So you kind of look at it as a baseball diamond, right? Everybody in their journey on security is at a different base. Some people just up the bat, and there's some people on first, second, third, and some people. So everybody's there, and you have to meet all those needs, right? If you cater to everybody on first base, well, the people over on third are like, yeah, I know, like, okay, so what, right? So you
Yeah.
have to constantly be catering your education, your training to meet everybody's needs. Um, we This is crazy, but we have young people come in and for our first line or entry level jobs, young people that don't use a mouse, right? Because
Yeah.
everything's a touchpad. They don't understand Windows file system because the only thing they know from school is like Google Docs, and they had an iPad. So sometimes it's literally starting from base level to get them to understand some of these concepts.
Yeah.
And so as you're doing that, you can't also forget the person who is rounding second, coming to third, right?
That's
It's
true.
a continuous balance. So.
And with that, I think it's important to have someone on within the organization side that understands trending technology, that understands what these users coming in may be using, because I think that could be a different approach. So when you get to that level, you know, being able to understand how to educate them in a way that resonates with them.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's right on. Like you have to reach them where they are. You have to
Right.
be able to figure out where are they, and let's take the messaging to them.
Yeah, so with that, I mean, depending on who you speak to, I mean, there are experts that differ or debate the right cadence for pushing out security awareness education. And again, I think this could come down to the individual, but from your experience, how often should cyber awareness be repeated to keep top of mind for users, and should training be tailored for those employees in different roles or different skill levels that may be more versed in security than other employees, or even role based, maybe someone at a role that may be a lower risk than others. um, how do you feel in terms of the cadence there, and if that should differ at all?
Yeah, sure. So there's two parts to that question. Let me get to the last part first, and that's do you need to segregate the training based on roles, and do you need to alter that? And absolutely, right. As I said, like the mailroom entry level certainly needs different training than the C-suite. And it even goes, so the call center, like we have a call center, that call center, who are most susceptible to being socially engineered, maybe by the phone, they need completely different training than somebody who is in a back office and never has contact with an actual customer or doesn't answer phone calls, and maybe they're more susceptible to email. So you need to train based on the job description. So there's first part of that, which I answered second. But as far as the cadence, um, what we're trying to do, and what I think is the best way to do it, is to just make it seamless and frictionless and just an everyday occurrence, that there's constant educational information coming out, awareness information. However, it's not like blast in your face. It's just like, hey, we're doing this. Hey, the newsletter comes. We do a newsletter every month. We run classes. Hey, come take this class. No pressure. We're not. There's a concept like I'm not chasing employees down, right? Like I make it
Mhm.
like, hey, come do this. Like um, we run contests for report phishing emails, win a gift card. We call it our monthly phishing derby. So we do these things that is just continuous every month, just every week, and to have a face of the program. Like I'm there, I'm in the facilities, I travel around, I go to our all of our different facilities. Our footprint runs all through Pennsylvania, and now we're in New Jersey. So, I travel around, I show up. I do this thing like drop in with pretzels, where I just show up and I have Philly pretzels for everybody. So it's important to just make it seamless, no friction. This isn't something, well, it's October, cybersecurity month, so we're just going to hammer you for a month with messaging and then walk away. It needs to be this just frictionless, everyday occurrence where people are just like, yeah, like cybersecurity is something that we care about. It's a priority.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that approach. Um, so, as someone responsible for cybersecurity awareness on a day to day, how do you address security fatigue? And what I mean by that is with all the messaging that employees get from understanding and reading through policies, understanding and getting taught best practices, et cetera, et cetera. At what point does that just become background noise that they tune out? How do you ensure your awareness efforts actually have an impact and change behaviors versus becoming routine warnings that people tend to dismiss, like, you're at the dentist and they tell you to go floss more, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Unless you do really go floss more. But
yeah, no, that's a story. That's something that I talk about is the flossing your teeth, right? Every
yeah.
time you're a young person, every time you go to the dentist, they're like, "Hey, like you need to floss." You're like, "Yeah, okay, you need to floss. Okay, you need to floss." Well, you don't really take the flossing serious until you have like significant until you have a root canal, right? And then you're like, "Man, I need to floss," right? Like I need to get with the program. So how do we get our messaging to be impactful and just not you need to floss, like that's a constant thing we deal with. um Even as much as I don't know if it's because it's a always popular topic, if social media content creators are constantly needing something to put out, so cybersecurity is a safe bet. But back in October, and I use this story also, I got for a coffee company, a social media ad like, "Hey, it's cybersecurity month. Like, use safe passwords." And it's like, all right, cool. Just sell me coffee. Let this let the cybersecurity, because if you have every single company just hammering everybody with ads and for cybersecurity, it just becomes noise eventually.
Yeah.
Um, when we do have an employee that we can engage with, it's usually not for a lot of time, right? Because their job is not cybersecurity. Their job is, whatever it is they're hired to do. And over the course of a year, we may get them for a very small amount of time individually or in a group. So that's why you need to maximize the rest of this messaging. So when you do send a message out, or you do get them to engage, it needs to be impactful and it needs to be meaningful. And so that messaging is so important. And fatigue is a serious issue. Like I said, and you made a great point also about the flossing of the teeth, right? We can't have it just sound like floss your teeth. Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Use safe passwords. Okay. And that's
Right.
another thing. Like, I see messaging come out and it's like, use a safe password and two-factor authentication. Okay. So what does that mean? Like, give some tips. Give
Yeah.
like you just can't tell people use, well, that's like, hey, do this with your car. Okay, well, what do you mean by that? You have to have a little more there. It has to be impactful. There has to be a takeaway. Just telling people to use safe passwords. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, how do you feel about just having sort of negative repercussions to that training or failing training or things like that? Because that's been another huge topic in terms of what is the right thing to do. Three strikes you're out type of deal, or how do we hold someone accountable for that message not getting through? Maybe it's for whatever reason.
Yeah, so it's hard. We have a policy because we do fish our own, and I run it. So we have a social engineering program where we send out phishing emails, and everybody comes in. They go through the new hire orientation program. I'm there. I explain this process to them, very open about it, um, and also with the policy, right? There's a series of 4 steps. You get to the fourth step, you're going to have an employment review. And I'm very, and I don't speak for HR or senior executives, whatever they do, but I'm very open about the fact that we're a heavy regulated industry, we're a financial business, and if you fail, I grade by quarter. So if you fail like 4 phishing tests in a row, you probably shouldn't be working in this industry, right? Like if you can't get it by now, then maybe you shouldn't be here and it's time to move on. Now
Yeah.
we have safeguards built in. So, after your second one, you have individualized personal training with, at this point, me. So I sit down with you, we go over it, so there are safeguards built in. We just don't let you fail and not do any remedial, that's built into it. But
And maybe there's degrees of I don't want to say punish, but degrees of action items to take back. So if you are in HR, or if you're on payroll and you get hit twice or you fall victim once, maybe that just puts you, on a fast track for more education versus maybe someone that doesn't have access to as sensitive data.
yeah, yeah, but you have to have some type of repercussion, right? You
Sure.
you, you just can't say, well, nothing's going to happen, because it's serious. It takes. I use an example. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on email security through a couple of vendors, and through all of that, we still get phishing emails, business email compromise. We still get these emails, make it through. And it
Right.
just takes one person for all that we do. It takes one person, so there has to be that education, or there has to be repercussions, right? you,
Sure.
you just
Yeah.
can't. It's the risks are too great to not do that.
Yeah. Okay, before we go, Matt, in terms of technology investments or technology tools, are there any specific solutions that you can recommend that reinforces cyber awareness for employees on their day to day? And if so, what low cost ones have you found to be efficient or worthwhile for SMBs to implement?
Yeah. So the information security or cybersecurity awareness market is pretty saturated right now, right? There's a lot of vendors out there doing security awareness, in all kinds of different um, manifestations.
Mhm.
And I always suggest, when someone says, "Hey, what do you think about this company, or what do you think about that company?" And I'll give them an honest assessment from what I know. But any small business, before they make it, it's expensive, right? Those things are expensive. So any small business, before they make that investment, should do some research first. One of the things that and I'll get some hate and pushback for this, and I'm sure some of these companies will send me emails, and that's fine. But there's this trend where they make these little videos that are like cartoons, or they make these little training things that are like video games, and they call it gamification. And they will tell you, like, these are awesome, everybody loves them, and we have such great. Well, maybe if you have a company where everybody's under 25 or so, they love it. But if you have, I'm telling you, everybody over 30 like hates those things in a professional setting. So how am I supposed to go to upper management, or executive level, or somebody in the C-suite, or even an owner of a small business, a significant small business, and say, "Hey, I need you to complete this game, like, do this game," right?
Mhm.
Like that. So if that's what the company's pushing, then that's probably not a company that you want to, there has to be some alternatives. So you need to fish your employees, and there's free options out there for that, and some of those companies do offer free. And if you can figure it out yourself, if you have to hire a consultant, then do it. You have to fish your employees. They will never understand the impact of that. They will never feel the sting or the embarrassment of getting that wrong until you do it. So you absolutely have to do that. Other cost-effective things are just doing like huddles with your team members or with your employees. Like I said, grab a pizza, sit down, watch a YouTube video, find something online, LinkedIn Learning. There's all kinds of different things that you can do for not a lot of money that are very impactful.
Yeah, you mentioned phishing as an essential training strategy, and I will just add on to that. That's not, not only phishing, but just phishing continuously. Again, you're going to have turnaround in that company. You're going to have the threat landscape changing, some different attack methods happening. So I think you got to stay on top of that as well, because you sort of got to mirror exactly what's happening out there to train your employees effectively.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and it's just like it like QR, like the thing we're seeing now, and I'm sure you are too, are like the QR codes coming in, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, it's Microsoft, and you need to update your 365 credentials. Scan this QR code, something like that we're seeing. And
Yeah.
a while back, the QR code, maybe once in a while, but they weren't pushing that. So if you're not continuously adapting and changing your training for what the bad guys are doing, if you do one phishing test a year, that's not going to really be as effective as if you're doing it quarterly or monthly,
Right.
or some places are doing it even more regular than that. So
Yeah, and then in addition, I'd also say run tabletop exercises, because I think going through the motions of, if an attack were to happen or someone were to fall victim to a phishing attack, what happens after that, and making sure that those response protocols are in place, and being able to test those as well.
yeah, yeah, and it doesn't even have to be obviously tabletop with your security team, incident response team, but a lot of small businesses don't have that. Just something with your staff, like, hey, if this happens, what are you going to do? If you
Yeah.
click this email, who do you call? Just run that through, and like, again, like over donuts or pizza, like, we're going to sit down and talk this out.
Yeah, just have that conversation,
Yeah.
and make sure people are aware. So, all right, we're coming up on the half hour here. I just want to mention one last thing. A quick reminder that BarCode Security is here to help you with your journey, especially with the security awareness efforts. And we are available to deliver on various engagements, like training or like helping you have that conversation on security awareness for all of our clients. So please, check us out at our website, or email us at info@barcodesecurity.com, and let's just discuss our services and ways that we can help. So, Matt, thank you again. I appreciate your time and your knowledge. Thanks everyone for joining. I'll see you guys next episode. Take care.